my tail was wagging for years about this game.
Listen, I've never done hard drugs, but I think that's the closest thing to a hard drug.
I easily could have gotten divorced playing Destiny 2.
Yeah, they had a raffle.
Oh, you told me about that.
Like, can I put one in for somebody else? They're like, yeah, just write their name in there. I'm like, cool. So there's Zach Mosby, there's Taylor Mosby, there's Ryan Mosby, and there's Ashley Mosby.
Yeah.
There's Kevin, Taven, all with the same phone number. Luckily, I got the call. They're like, yeah, there's a bunch of, you got a big family. Yeah, I do. Yeah. But one PS5, that's all we need. Earlier this week, actually, Sony's head said they're going to put $2 billion worth of money into research and development for semiconductors, displays, and gaming. I'm like, all right, man, like these guys are definitely putting their money where their mouth is.
To the Gamers Enquirer Podcast. We have a special individual, my buddy, previous colleague and patriot, Mr. Zach Mosby. Zach and I have a really cool background in working together in the past, and we're most importantly fellow gamers. So I just want to take this opportunity. Zach, thank you for jumping on the show.
Welcome.
This has actually been a long time coming for me because, you know, when we were working together, we would always steal company time, talking about video games, movies, music, all that sort of stuff. And now we're using our own time to kind of do that on a public stage. So thank you for setting aside time to be here, man.
I appreciate it. I appreciate you having me. Yeah, you're 100% right. We definitely would take our own little time aside and talk about games and what was coming out. And so I'm really happy to be here.
Yeah. And for the record, we didn't abuse company time.
No.
It would just be maybe water cooler talk about a new video game that we chat about and things like that. But definitely had some good moments. So let's talk a little bit about kind of where you're from in terms of your gaming roots, how you started playing video games, what you value about them. Give us sort of your backstory as to when you started playing games.
Yeah, so definitely gonna age myself a bit here, but I started playing at the age of 6. My dad used video games as a means of babysitting, basically. So it started with the NES, Sega Genesis, and moved forward. And we'd always take our weekly trips to Blockbuster or whatever gaming rental places that we had, and I'd get my little game, and then he'd put me in front of the TV, and then he'd go do his own thing. So yeah. I definitely got to get a breadth of gaming pretty early.
Absolutely, man. Those are some the golden times, the golden era of gaming. I like to say was when Blockbuster was a thing.
Yes.
Going to Blockbuster, seeing a game that you really wanted to play, and it first of all being available. Like a lot of hot games back in the late 90s, early 2000s that were at Blockbuster that everybody wanted to play. It seemed like every single time I went to the store to play them, they were always taken up. And it would be like 4 or 5 copies, and like everybody in the city would have to compete over 4 or 5 copies of a video game. And like it would never be available until like 6 months later. So like how rewarding was it when, a new video game that you really wanted to play was there at Blockbuster? It was almost like a ceremonial experience to check out the game with your parent who was getting it for you or whatever, and then bringing it home and playing it. Were you kind of like a guy that would get a game from Blockbuster and you'd always have to return it by a certain time? Did you keep it past that date, or did you, were you honorable in returning your video games at Blockbuster?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I definitely would, like if I found like one of the hot games, I would definitely like get it immediately, and then before we had to return it, I would go inside and say, "Hey, can we just like renew this? Like, don't even put it back out there,
Absolutely.
But another thing that I really enjoyed about it, though, is when those games that you really, really wanted wasn't there, Like you could just try something new. Like nowadays, there's so many critics and YouTube videos that goes into gaming where you kind of have a good sense of all the games that are out right now. Whereas back then, um, there was like a sense of discovery when it came to getting those games. You didn't really know what you're getting yourself into, so you're truly trying something different and unique. Where I would start to play FIFA for the first time, Madden. I would play some of the new Super Mario games I didn't even consider because that hotness wasn't available because somebody else got it like 30 minutes before me.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm right there with you. So you started off playing Super Nintendo. Were you like a one console guy growing up? Or did you have multiple consoles, and was like one of the lucky kids that had like a Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, that sort of thing?
Yeah, I was definitely the lucky kid. My parents found out really quickly that video games, like I was hooked. It was my thing. So instead of like getting a new bike or instead of getting a new toy, all right, I'm just gonna roll that over and get a new game, or I'll roll that over for Christmas and get a new console. So I tried to play as much as I could whenever I could, and I learned quickly those grades stay up, the game stays on. So that's kind of how I took it.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm with you 100%. Those imitate a lot of my early years growing up. Me and my brother, I had the Super Nintendo. He had the Sega Genesis, but it was two of us. We were pretty close in age, so we would always share games and stuff like that. Were you an only child, or you had a sibling that you played games with?
Yeah,
Or?
so I have a younger brother too. He's 4 years younger, and we would definitely play games together. Smash Bros. We get pretty epic, pretty quick. Same thing with Mario Kart and those other games, and same thing that you did with your brother. Once he was old enough to like start gaming on his own, like I'm like, all right, you rent this and I'll rent that, and then we'll swap over. So it was pretty cool.
Absolutely. So you mentioned Super Smash Brothers. Who is your go-to character from there?
Yoshi,
Oh wow.
hard lock Yoshi.
I don't know. Yoshi. So a lot of my buddies, they would use they would use Kirby. I played against a lot of Kirby players, a lot of Samus players and Link players.
Yeah.
Personally, I was a Star Fox player. He was really quick, really shifty,
Yep.
and from range could shoot, blast the pistol from range. And Yoshi, I knew Yoshi was good, but I saw Yoshi. I experienced Yoshi as more of like a computer, a really good computer opponent. But other friends of mine that would pick up the sticks and play, they weren't as good with Yoshi. So Yoshi was kind of like a skirmish sort of player. You really had to know how to play the game to play well with Yoshi. So you must have been pretty good at Super Smash Brothers.
I was decent, and I'm down to throw down anytime, yourself included. Let's go.
Okay.
But Yoshi, I use Yoshi to control the space. So like, he's definitely down to get after it, close quarters. But you use the eggs and his down B, his drop down, to kind of manipulate where your opponent is gonna be.
Yeah.
Like I know where I want you to be, so I'm gonna use these eggs to deter you from doing those fox things that you want to do. So I try to take like a cerebral approach to my Yoshi.
Okay. Yeah, that works. Okay, so you started with Super Nintendo, and then what consoles did you graduate to up till now?
So honestly, I've console wise, I'm pretty sure I've touched everything. Actually, no, I can confidently say now I've owned everything from Genesis up to current gen, minus the Wii U. But I've never dabbled ever in the PC territory. I've always been a console guy.
Okay, so we're gonna do a little speed round real quick of like
So,
consoles that have come out that you may or may not, and I just want you to say yeah or no whether or not you've owned it at some point in your life. I minus
sure.
the PC, I got it, and the Wii U. All right, so start, and I'm not going to include first gen like the regular Nintendo and the Atari.
Yeah.
Assuming you didn't have those, right?
Atari, no. OG Nintendo. Yeah, my dad had one from forever ago.
Oh, okay. So this is going to be fun. Okay, so you had Nintendo, you had Super
Yep.
Nintendo, you had Nintendo 64,
Yes, sir. Classic.
PlayStation 1,
Oh yeah. The little one too, like the little guy.
the
Not the
abbreviated
big
version.
beefy one.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then PS2, PS3, PS4.
Yep. Five. All of
Oh,
them.
wow. This is crazy. And you also played Xbox as well?
Yes, sir.
The first
Yep.
Xbox.
Midnight release. Yep.
You're a midnight release guy for the first
Oh,
Xbox?
I was that dude. I was that guy.
The big fat clunky Xbox One
that-
controllers.
That paperweight. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And then the Xbox 360, Xbox One.
Oh, so actually, no, I didn't get the Xbox One. So you got me there.
Oh,
So
okay.
Xbox One, I missed out, but then I came back for Series X.
Oh, you came back for Series X. Very cool. Very cool. Okay, and you didn't do the Wii U, but let me throw this one at you. Sega Dreamcast.
Yes and no. Reason why I say that. So I had it, right? I had it, but I had a limit. So it worked for, I think I got it for Christmas. It worked for all of 3 days. And then for whatever reason, I think I had like a circuit board issue where the thing would work for like an hour and then it would just turn itself off. So my dad was like, oh, nope, return. And then I just put myself back in the PS2 world.
Well, there's some decent games. I mean, okay, so I was in a previous episode, me and my buddy Brian were talking about some one player, or I'm sorry, not one player, but some fighting games. And we talked a little bit about how Street Fighter 2 is, a huge fighting game, Mortal Kombat. What isn't really talked about so much now, but like back specifically for Sega Dreamcast, was this fighting game called Soul Calibur. Did you ever play that game?
Yeah, I played it in the arcade, and I played a bunch of it at the. So where I was from regionally, it's called Babbage's, but now it's GameStop. But I played a bunch in like the store. I never really could figure it out, but it was mind blowing when I was playing it.
Yeah. Very beautiful game. Really enjoyed that one when it was in its heyday. Okay, perfect. Hey, so we're gonna go ahead and take a quick break. Quick break. And on the other end of the break, we'll go ahead and start talking a little bit about what Zach and I have in common in terms of being parents, being dads, and how we find that balance in terms of gaming, but also holding up to our responsibilities. So we'll see you in just a second.
Hey guys, it's Terry here. Hope you're enjoying the content. Be sure to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell to get regular updates on new videos. Thanks. Let's get back to the show.
Zach, thanks for being here. Okay, so obviously we have gaming in common, but we're also both parents. We're both dads. Was there through the course of just, I guess, the transition between, being a single guy to now being a married guy and then being a dad, where you were just like, maybe I should stop playing video games. Maybe video games is not a thing. What made you keep playing? And even more so, how do you balance your time and responsibilities to make sure you can get those gaming sessions in?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So giving up gaming, no, never crossed my mind. It's not going away. But definitely I had to revisit my time allocation. And as you're aware, that first kid is like punch in the face, like everything that you thought, how it would go, everything that you thought, you planned out, it all changes. All that goes out the window. So how do I keep relevancy for gaming myself? So there's sacrifices that needed to be made, like those 4-hour, 5-hour raids in Destiny 2 had to go. Those come home, sit down, crack a soda, and play COD, from the time I got off work until I felt like going to bed. Those are gone. Prestige 10 days are gone.
Yeah.
However, though,
can I just interject this one thing real quick?
Yeah.
I'm going to let you finish. But when you brought up Destiny, man, that hit way different, man.
Raids.
I've told people in the past, Destiny. So, okay. Destiny 1 came out in 2014. I had just started
on the alpha and the beta. Let's go.
Yes, I had. Well, here's my experience with Destiny 1. I saw the trailer for the game. I was immediately hooked. I like the fact that the guys from Bungie jumped from Halo and wanted to create something original with Destiny. And I was just, my tail was wagging for years about this game. And the game came out in 2014. I had just started, I just finished college, and I was like within my first year of starting my own career. And I came home from work, I fired the game up, and immediately was smacked in the face by the Destiny, the toxic Destiny gaming community.
Like, listen, I've never done hard drugs, but I think that's the closest thing to a hard drug is Destiny.
Yeah, absolutely. I was turned away though. Like, I wanted to do a raid, and the raid just came out, Zach. It had just came out like 6 hours earlier that day. And I fired it up, and I joined one of those looking for groups to play with, a few other people and get a raid done. And as soon as I jumped in there, they were like, "Hey, have you done this raid before?" And I was like, "No, I just start." And they kicked me from the party chat immediately. Yep. And I was like, "Oh, snap." And then with Destiny, so I didn't play Destiny 1, or I play a little bit, but not like I wanted to. Destiny 1 comes out in 2017. I said, I am going to figure this game out. I got good, but I also got married. And then, I was one of the top raiders for Destiny 2. And eventually I was playing so much that my wife was like, "Hey, something's got to go." And I easily could have gotten divorced playing Destiny 2. Easily.
Oh, it's a part-time job, literally, because you gotta get your dailies, you gotta get your weeklies. Okay, the raid's up, boom, all right, let's knock out Iron Banner, all right, boom, that's already done. Hey, did you get the exotic? No, all right, let me help you. That Destiny grind, those guys at Bungie know.
They figured it out.
They had the vision and they executed.
And then before you know it, the week's over and you have to do it all over again. Right. It was crazy.
At the same time, you got the gear, you're in the tower. And,
you were dripped.
You got your hotness. Yeah, dripped out. You got the guns. You got the vault. You just finished vault of glass or whatever you did. And then, for me, right, those raids will make or break relationships. You'll be friends with somebody going into that raid, but if you miss this jump one more time, I swear to God,
I know.
Or if you screw up this damage phase one more time, I swear to God,
Oh my gosh, man. It was whether or not you had that raid exotic or whatever meant whether you were one of the cool kids. And if you didn't get that, you were frowned upon. You were not welcome to sit at our lunch table,
Well, and on top of that, right, if you didn't have that exotic, or if you didn't have the right loadout, you go in the Crucible, you're gonna get smoked.
Oh yeah.
You don't have the right loadout? Well, night. Just go sit down. Just sit in the corner.
That game was too much, man. Yeah, you had to make a call. I'm sorry. So continue what you were saying.
Yeah. So wifey, she's not a gamer, but she likes to watch me play games. So that's something that we've incorporated into our relationship. So Red Dead Redemption 2, she would just sit there after the kids go to bed, and she'll watch me play. So that's kind of how I scratch that itch. And then now games that she doesn't care about, for instance, would be Final Fantasy 16. She doesn't give a rip about that. So what I'll do is I'll put the little ones down, and then I'll do some husband time, and then I usually take an hour and a half in the evening. I'm not gonna lie, I'm up to 10:30 at night, but I'll get my little gaming session, get my little hour, scratch that itch, and then go to bed.
Yeah.
But kind of also incorporate the little ones too. So my son's too small, but my oldest, she's 8. So I'll play Mario Kart with her. I'll play Mario Party with her. Still dominate her she's a kid, but no wins over here. You got to earn it.
Right.
But still though, try to pass it on to the next generation. So that's kind of how I keep gaming alive, within my life. And then I'm not gonna lie, selfishly, I'm looking forward to retirement when they move out, so I can go back to those 5-hour Destiny.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Sorry, you might hear my kids coming in.
No, that's not good.
But so yes, I would absolutely agree with you. There's definitely a balance that you got to have. My kids are a little bit younger than yours. I've got a 2-year-old and a 6-month. Another one that's 6 months. I don't even think I told you. Yeah, you were there for when my firstborn was born. But yeah, since then we've had another kid, and man, yeah, the juggling is definitely real. You have to. So my what I was allowed to do was, so my wife, she didn't want to sit and watch me play. She liked to get on, she liked to online shop and watch, Real Housewives or whatever, and
Selling Sunset.
Well, yeah. Yeah, so she likes to watch all that, do all that stuff. But even still, she would be like, "Hey, why are you watching people like Ninja and Dr. Disrespect and all of these other people play video games? They're just human beings. Like, why are you watching?" And she was like, "You can do that. Like, you can do something like that. I mean," and she was like, "How much money are they making?" I'm like,
Absurd.
Yeah, some crazy stuff. And so my justification was get the blessing from my spouse to just play video games and try to, make some money out of it. And in doing that, as long as the kids were asleep, like you said, and the responsibilities were done, I can turn the lights on and get after it. So there's definitely a balance. Work comes first, family comes first, all that good stuff. But rather than go to, the bar and drink at night, or blow money on gambling or something like that, gaming keeps me in the house, keeps me available, and it also helps me, mentally get through and face the battles of life on a daily basis. It's kind of my, my serenity,
Yeah, man. Like one of the principles that I'm teaching my kids in my household is, you do what you have to do so you can do what you want to do.
Yeah.
So, I have to be a dad. I have to, teach them like respect and, all the good tenets of being an adult that I want them to have when they, grow up one day. But my reward, like just like you said, at the end of the day, like, all right, well, I'm going to, put some headshots on some fools and doom.
Awesome. Yeah, those are really good takes. So I know you've played Nintendo. I think you had mentioned like now you're on to PlayStation 5. You play a lot of PlayStation 5 exclusive games. PS5 released, was it fall of 2020 or something like that, around that time? So it's been out like 2.5, close to 3 years now. What would you say some of the highlighted games from the PS5 platform you've played so far, and why?
Yeah. So that's kind of a touchy subject for me because I feel like we're still in the infancy of the PS5. So like I'd say this year is the first year we're seeing PS5 only, not that PS5/PS4 situation.
Yeah.
And so like I really want, and I get it, like they have like the shortages and the scalpers and all that stuff, but I'm really excited.
That was a big thing.
Like,
I mean, I want to say
right?
like for like a year. I hate to cut you off. I really feel bad about that, but you mentioned that. I just have to say, only because I could afford it did I go aftermarket to get me a PlayStation 5. When the game released, let me tell you what happened, Zach. I took leave from work at the office. You know where we worked. I took paid time off on the night of the release for PS5. I was 1, 2, 3, 4. I was 6th in line at GameStop. I showed up to GameStop the night before the release at midnight that night. When the store opened at 8 o'clock that morning, they opened up the store and they said to everybody in line, there was about 100 of us. They said, we've only got 5 PS5s available.
Of course they did.
We only have 5. I was sixth in line. And I was thinking, well, you know, I got a couple kids in front of me. Maybe they'll show up short with the money. I'll stick around at least for a few minutes to see if maybe one becomes available. Obviously, nothing was available. I went home, sleep deprived, upset. My heart was broken. And you know what I said, you know what? I'm not going to be one of these, you know, kids that get their heart broken when they don't get their console for Christmas. That's not going to be me. I'm a professional. I'm a grown man. I got money now. And I don't care. I'm going to go cheat. I'm going to cheat and I'm going to get this game aftermarket on Craigslist. And I ended up paying $850 for a PlayStation 5. On release, I mean, it was great. Had a full year warranty, all that good stuff. It was out of the box. There was nothing wrong. But I paid essentially double the cost for a PS5 because I wanted it that bad. And that ended up being, in the end, a good decision because the scalpers were rampant for the next like year or two. The PS5s are just now this past year becoming available on a consistent basis, you know, at your local, you know, Target, Walmart, whatever.
It's funny that you said that, like, you know, you had to get crafty. I mean, I did the same thing for mine. Like,
did you?
They had a raffle. Yeah, they had a raffle.
Oh, you told me about that.
Like, just put your name down, put your phone number, and I was writing my stuff down, and I was like, hey, can I put one in for somebody else? And they're like, yeah, just write their name in there. And I'm like, how many entries are there? And they said one per person. And I was like, all right, but I can like fill it out for them and put it in the bucket. They're like, yeah. I'm like, cool. So there's Zach Mosby, and there's Taylor Mosby, there's Ryan Mosby, and there's Ashley Mosby. Yeah. There's Kevin, Taven, all with the same phone number. And I put like 17 entries in there. Luckily, I got the call. I'll be like, yeah, there's a bunch of, you got a big family. Yeah, I do. Yeah. But one PS5, that's all we need.
Yeah. And you ended up getting one.
Yes.
I probably should have done it. I probably should have done it that way, to be honest with you. I guess I just didn't want to wait. I think I was just so defeated that night that I wanted a guarantee win. And
you wanted to be a have, not a have not.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, anyways, the ball's back in your court. PS5 exclusives that you've enjoyed over the past, you know, couple years that the PS5's been out.
Yeah, so definitely Spider-Man. Super excited for Spider-Man 2. Jedi Fallen Order, which was like a sneaky hit for me. Didn't see that coming. Ghost of Tsushima, which I know it's a PS4 game, but playing it on PS5, legit playing that at 4K, that's an experience. So I have to throw Ghost of Tsushima in there. The Last of Us, I mean, come on now. How can you not talk about The Last of Us? And then most recently, Resident Evil 4 Remake. That was wild. The nostalgia was really hitting hard. Final Fantasy 16 for sure. It's been one of my dark horse games of this year for sure. I'm thoroughly enjoying that, way more than I thought I would. And then what came out earlier this year that I've played?
You weren't a Horizon Zero Dawn or Horizon Forbidden West guy. Yeah.
Didn't get into it.
Yeah. I mean, the games that you just listed have been like, the franchise has existed for a long time. Mm-hmm. Horizon was kind of like a sneaker that jumped into gaming, specifically the PS5 universe over the past like 5 or 6 years. It's relatively new. What about Ratchet and Clank for the PS5? Did you ever play that?
Oh yeah. Was it like a Rift Apart?
Rift Apart, yeah.
Yeah, it was legit. Definitely a return to form. I really enjoyed it, and it was really good to see like what was possible. You know, like that's really the PS5 like flexing a little bit of its muscle. In my opinion, they still haven't tapped into it, all that muscle it's got. But that was an extremely enjoyable experience. I really enjoyed it.
Well, that's good. But you're saying that now you're enjoying Final Fantasy 16. I haven't gotten to that game yet. What makes it such of a sleeper or a sneaky sort of game that you've really enjoyed so far?
Yeah, no, it's funny. I was talking to my wife about this yesterday on the drive home. We just went out to get some food, but are you familiar with the game called Azura's Wrath? Asura's Wrath?
Yeah. It's a exclusive. Azura, for people who don't know, is a Street Fighter character. I believe he's like an uncle or grandfather or some sort of relative of Ryu. But he's like an evil sort of family member. But the Azura's Wrath is an exclusive one player. I believe it's one player. I've never played it myself, but exclusive one player game featuring that said character. Is it an RPG, Zach, or what is it exactly?
So it's an action. No, it would be like just a legit action game.
Okay.
And then so Azura's Wrath is like, it's really the story's over the top. The fights are really over the top, but the scale of the boss battles, where like you have guys like the size of planets that you're fighting against.
Oh,
like,
wow.
Completely like just wild. It's big and major that you can make a boss fight. That's what it is. And so Final Fantasy 16, like the story is like, it's like Game of Thrones, the story itself.
Okay.
But what really sells it for me is these boss fights that you're fighting with these massive summons, and it just scratches like this itch, this young man testosterone, single caveman brain itch of punch thing in the face real hard till thing don't move.
Yeah.
And like these fights are just a spectacle, especially if you have a 4K display.
It sounds like from a boss perspective, it sounds like Shadows of the Colossus or something like that.
Like imagine Shadow of the Colossus, but you're also a Colossus, and you guys are trying to see who can punch each other in the face the hardest.
Okay, got it.
So like the Game of Thrones like warring kingdom aspect on top of these immaculately choreographed fights, on top of like the graphical fidelity like the PS5 can push out. It just checks a lot of the boxes for me. I know like for Game of the Year standard, it's not really going to touch, Tears of the Kingdom or your Diablo 4s or Armored Core 6. I think that's going to be a dark horse too this year. But for me personally on the Zach list, like this game is definitely checking a lot of boxes.
Okay, well that's good. I'll have to give. I didn't play Final Fantasy really beyond, the 90s Final Fantasy 7.
You play remake?
I did not play the remake, but I heard the remake was it. Yeah. I was saying in a previous conversation that the beauty and challenge of being like a hardcore gamer is realizing that you're just not going to be able to play every game that you want to play. There's not enough time. There's not enough, resources. You have to live vicariously through other hardcore gamers a lot of times just to appreciate games that you wouldn't otherwise play. The Final Fantasy VII remake is one of them. I didn't even get a chance to play Final Fantasy 15. And I know that was another big game too. I just never been a huge Final Fantasy guy. But that all being said, I'm glad you're enjoying it. I got to squeeze it into my gaming, year this year, and maybe even put it on the channel in the form of like a review or something like that. But the way you describe how good the game is means a lot because I know how much you love video games, and if you have a game that really strikes your fancy, I would be disrespectful if I didn't even try it out. So okay.
Man, are you into like JRPGs? Are you like deep into that, or you dabble over there a little bit?
So Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, I just beat that.
Nice. Okay.
A lot of people don't have Nintendo these days, or a lot of older, a lot of people don't play, but Zelda Tears of the Kingdom was really good. I really enjoyed that. I don't play a lot of turn-based games, or strategy games. For a strategy game, I'll go as far as Civilization. That's about it.
Okay.
But like, give an example of like a JRPG that you're talking about.
So right now, the one that, in my opinion, stands head and shoulders above the rest would be Persona 5 Royal. like this is like the JRPG to end JRPGs. Story, box check. Battle systems, box check. Character development, rounding out your party. Like I put a good 105 hours into that. A lot of games I didn't play because I was playing Persona 5. That game is just head and shoulders, like, because I stepped away from the JRPG lane for a while. Just got really into the shooters, this really story linear games, but it came out like for like $20, I think, on like one of the PlayStation sales, and I was like, sure, whatever, shoulder shrug, let's do it, and just fell in love. So it's definitely one of my favorite games for sure.
Okay, very cool, very cool. Mm-hmm. Another game I gotta try, man. It's just I just gotta carve out the time.
Well, I mean, just like you're talking about backlog, like Tears of the Kingdom is like on my Switch. I just haven't played it. I know it's like really bad to say. But.
So that game, it's going to take you between 40 and 50 hours just to beat, let alone complete. I don't know if you played Breath of the Wild, but it basically picks up after Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild, I thought was, in terms of map size and things to do and stuff like that, it was really massive. Tears of the Kingdom is like 3 times that effect. The story is 3 times bigger. The map is 3 times bigger. The stuff you can do is 3 times as robust. And I was able to beat the game, all that good stuff. But like, I could easily go back, pick up where I left off, explore more. It's a massive, massive, massive game. I mean, I'll put it this way: if you only played Nintendo just to play Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, that would be a satisfied fix for Nintendo alone. Not to include, all of the Mario games and, all the, just to play Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, and that'll still be worth it.
So I have a question for you. I know I'm kind of getting ahead of our topic a little bit, but what you just said, right? And I find it really interesting that you said like Tears of the Kingdom like checks that box for Nintendo, right? Do you, in my opinion, and here's where I would like you to kind of critique my thought, but like I feel like Nintendo has become like this one game a year franchise. Like, hey, let's check the box, scratch that itch with Tears of the Kingdom, and then we'll make some movies and we'll make a bunch of money and we'll be happy. Like Xbox and PlayStation, bangers.
Yeah.
Constantly, at least 1 to 2 good games a quarter. Whereas Nintendo, we're looking at 1 game a year. Like, okay, the Nintendo, like the Mario games are legit, they're cool, but like, is that really like you banging down the doors? Is that really a midnight release type of situation?
I think.
How do you feel about the state of Nintendo?
All right, what's up, Gamers Enquirer family? I'm here to announce that I'm starting a podcast where I'm going to be talking about everything under the sun about gaming. We're going to have guests like streamers, fellow gamers, esports pros, devs in the industry, and maybe even you watching right now could come on board with me to talk about what we love, video games.
Those are great questions. I think Nintendo now knows their niche. If we were to talk to a gaming historian, we would be able to fully understand and appreciate the fact that Nintendo as a company, along to some respect, like Sega, some of these cornerstone gaming manufacturers, they were putting out games and game content that was revolutionary for its time, constantly pushing the threshold for originality. I mean, you talk about like Super Mario 64 that came out in 1996. My wife was talking about it like the other day, getting Mario to be in a 3D universe and fly around with his like wings on his head and, doing handstands on top of trees and stuff like that. That was like inconceivable gameplay content back then. Star Fox being able to, fly around in this, 3D ship between stars and planets, and it was amazing to see. for whatever reason, I think it's because of leadership, just like in anything. I mean, you can't have the same CEO, for 50 years, 40 years, whatever. There's changing of the guard, if you will, many times. And I don't think I'd have to do my research, but I think it's because they've dialed back what Nintendo's niche is. I think they appreciate now it being a child and family organic sort of endeavor now. It's not for the gamer's gamer anymore. It's you just talked about it yourself. You and your daughter coming together playing, Mario Party or, Super Smash or whatever. It's fun to play. There's some cute moments, but is it really, it's like, do I want to drink a bunch of lemonade and still be thirsty? Or do I want to drink water in the form of Xbox, PlayStation, PC games and really have my thirst quenched when it comes to gaming? I mean, Nintendo doesn't even produce games beyond 1080p. You were just talking about how amazing PlayStation 5 and playing on a 4K TV and, a high refresh rate and all this other great stuff. They can't even forget about the game. They can't even get their resolution up. So how can I take
Tears of the Kingdom is like struggling at 30 FPS, man. But I think their priorities have shifted.
Yeah.
That's what I think it is. Like, Super Mario movie was really good. Nintendo Land's a thing. I feel like they're trying to broaden their footprint. They're using gaming as a launching point. Like they're trying, like, I know Disney's a massive scale, but they're trying to become, Disney East. Like we have Pokemon, we got the Pokemon money, we got the Mario money. Let's build on that. Let's grow this. And maybe gaming is just to check a box to keep us old heads happy. Because like my 2-year-old loves a Mario movie, but it'll be another 4 or 5 years before he touches the sticks to play it.
Yeah.
Like maybe that's where their priorities lie, is becoming something bigger than gaming.
Yeah.
And maybe they just leave the games in the dust.
I hope not, man. That breaks my heart, man. I really respect and value Nintendo, and I hope they don't scale it back so far that I don't even purchase a Nintendo console. I think as long as they have possession of these iconic franchises like Zelda and Mario, Zelda in particular, Zelda is like the last sort of arm of true gaming experience for the everyman or gal. If they let go of Zelda and give it to, I don't know, PC or whoever, if they give away that franchise, that I would venture to say that's it for Nintendo. But I mean, we'll see what happens. That's a great question, though. That's a great question. So I guess what we'll do real quick is just take a quick break, and we'll wrap up the show. Before we wrap up completely, we'll get Zach's take on his favorite video game, as well as his thoughts on where the gaming industry is going over the next few years. So sit tight. We'll be right back.
Hey guys, it's Terry here. Hope you're enjoying the content. Be sure to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell to get regular updates on new videos. Thanks. Let's get back to the show.
So we're back again with our buddy Zach Mosby. Zach, really good take so far. Real quick, I always got to ask guests who've been on the show and just kind of get their take, because everybody has different experiences with games and different things that they enjoy. Answer this question. What is your favorite video game of all time and why, sir?
Favorite video game of all time. Put a period on it. Metal Gear Solid 3, Snake Eater. That's it.
Hey, that was a really good one. So I love Metal Gear Solid. You know what? I'm actually kind of mad you mentioned that, because
Why is that? What?
because you mentioned it at the end of our episode when the Metal Gear Solid franchise, that whole life, starting with Hideo Kojima being the director of the franchise for so long, and how they fired him, and he ended up making this huge walking simulator rather than continuing or finishing the story that he wanted to finish with. That is a whole nother show, and we could have started with your favorite game and just hijacked the show talking about that. But you wanted to wait until the end and get me just flustered. But yes, I'm a Metal Gear Solid 1. That's my favorite game, Metal Gear Solid 1. Okay. But still, same franchise, same sort of universe. Metal Gear Solid 3, Snake Eater, you take the story of Metal Gear of David Hayter's Solid Snake, and now you're going outdoors. You're no longer in these, futuristic, metal prisons and escaping through, boats and stuff like that in the middle of nowhere. You are in the jungle.
Yes.
Right.
They played Welcome to the Jungle in the trailer.
They did.
Yeah.
It was an awesome game. Originally, which I didn't even realize until after I beat the game, it doesn't feature or surround itself as Solid Snake as the protagonist, but in fact, it's Big Boss as the protagonist, and it talks about his original beginnings as a soldier and how he became.
How a prequel should be done.
Yes. Beautiful game. Why is that your favorite game, sir?
Oh, so I mean, you touched on a lot of those points. The story, the action, the atmosphere, the diversity in bosses, how you go about the bosses. Like, my mind blew up as a kid reading online that you can beat the end just by setting forward your game clock, and he's old, he's just gonna die. Like, but at the same time, like, excuse my French, but it's a video game. Like, there's video game portions of, like, oh, it's a PlayStation 2, it can only load so fast. Or, we're going up this ladder for the next 5 minutes while the game loads, it figures its life out. But you're going to listen to this lady spew her guts out singing Snake Eater. It's great. Or, like, when you got a guy and you're making him shake down to get the ammo off of him. Just those little video game, like, cringy things that are just absolutely hilarious, but they're still in there. But
the healing system in there was really good too. Like, it was very original.
X-ray, get the darts out of you. And so, like, but at the same time, like, it had all these, like, systems in there. Like, you had to feed yourself. You had to think about camouflage. Think about how much noise you're making. Like, all the Hideo Kojima things. Like, if it was raining outside and you came inside, you're going to leave boot prints as you walk around. So just do a little 360 to get rid of the boot prints and dry off your boots before you start running around. All those things, on top of an excellent story, excellent pacing. Again, some of the boss fights, out of this world, completely crazy. And then even messes with your mind a little bit when you're going down the river with the sorrow and all the bodies that, from the folks that you killed. But you play it again, and you don't kill anybody. The boss fight ends like that.
Yeah.
All of those things makes me, rose-colored glasses on, so happy and excited to think about it, play it back in the day, but also makes me scared for the remake and the remaster moving forward, because I'm like, man, don't screw up my baby. Don't do that.
I'm with you, man. I'm glad you brought up the remake trailer that released maybe a month or two ago. When I saw it, I like you felt the same way. What I felt was the same feeling I felt when I saw the trailer for Lion King come out a few years ago. They went from cartoon to live action, and I saw the trailer for that, and I was like, don't mess up this movie. And they messed up the movie. They made a ton of money on the movie, But let me tell you, they messed up that movie. They brought James Earl Jones back, but he was an old man. His voice sounded super weak as Mufasa. All of the facial expressions from the cartoon just didn't translate well to the live action version. It just wasn't the same movie. I don't want. And Hideo Kojima, he's not on this remake project, right?
No, he's not.
He's not.
It's just some folks who think that they know what his intent is, and this is for a completely different episode. But we're in the age of the remake remaster.
Yeah.
Right? And like we've had some folks hit out the park, we've had some folks, flop on their face.
Yeah.
So here we are with my beloved now up for her remaster, and I'm like, oh my God, don't come on.
Yeah.
This is at the Super Bowl, don't throw the ball at the 1 yard line against the Patriots. Run the ball, give it to beast mode. Well, you know what? I hope they give it to beast mode. Please give it to beast mode.
If they do it right, it will be a fantastic game. I'm going to buy the game regardless because I'm a gamer. That's what's going to happen. I'm going to buy it. But man, I like you. This is my favorite video game franchise. I know the original, director. It's sort of like Star Wars. George Lucas was the original guy. He's not really in it anymore. He sold the franchise over. Hideo Kojima is no longer on the project. When you don't have that source visionary, you're gambling, and so we'll see what happens. Again, like you had mentioned, great game, definitely one of the top video games of all time, and we'll be crossing our fingers for the remake. I don't think it's coming out in 24. It's coming out in 25, right?
I think I'd have to look at the news.
Yeah, I'll have to look at it as
correct.
well.
I think it's 25.
I think it was just a teaser. They didn't show any game footage.
Exactly.
So usually when that happens, you're about a year and a half or 2 years out. But we'll see what happens.
It still holds up today, though. That's the thing.
It does.
Like the graphics don't, but the game does. Like 3, 4, and 5, and some could argue Sons of Liberty, Metal Gear Solid 2 still holds up today too.
Oh yeah.
Like you just need a fresh coat of paint.
Yeah.
Like, do you really need to remake it? Anyway, yeah.
Well, Last of Us 1 remake was beautifully done.
Very good point.
And you had roughly 10 years removed from the original Last of Us that came out back in 2013. And they did that really well. And it sparked a lot of interest, and they made a TV show of it, and, off to the races.
Right.
I hope they do well with this remake and light some much needed new fire under the franchise. We'll see what happens. What are you wanting to see in the gaming industry in the future? In a previous conversation, I've talked with other people about virtual reality, augmented reality. On the Gamers Enquirer Discord, we just watched a movie together called Ready Player One. I don't know if you've seen that at all, which kind of talks about a future where basically the internet and gaming sort of combine, and it's just a universe of video games and this whole experience. Say 10, 20, even 50 years from now, Zach, where would you envision the gaming industry going, and what are you thinking that might look like?
Yeah, so I'll break it down like this. So I have short term what I think and what I want, and then long term what I think and what I want. So short term, what I think we're going to stay in this remaster culture for a little bit, but we're going to have some games that kind of start pulling us out of it. We definitely have some like really good franchises that are due for some sequels that I think are going to be, awesome, and really, start flexing the muscle of the current generation of Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5. That's what I think is going to happen. I think we're going to really like hit our stride for this generation. What I want is.
But before you go into where you want, I just wanted to get your take on regarding this current generation. If you were to give like a number for years left for this generation's consoles, like how many more years left do you think we're going to be able to milk out of the Xbox Series X and, the PS5? You think we got 5 more years with it? You think so?
Yeah.
So that will rival kind of the Xbox 360 era. The Xbox 360 era was around 7 or 8 years. I know it was under 10, but like we had that for a while to eat off of, if you will. You think that with Xbox Series X, PlayStation 5, we're going to be eating off that from a gaming experience for at least 5 more years. That's a total of 8 years. Do you think in that time period there will be another Nintendo console or anything like that? Do you think there's room for another console, player to enter the chat, if you will? What do you think?
I don't know. I mean, we've kind of already seen it, with Google Stadia. There's rumors with Apple. There's the OLED Switch that's supposed to come out. We had the Steam Deck drop. So like there have been, folks to play, but with the recent acquisitions that Xbox has done, Microsoft has done, and the recent acquisitions that Sony has done with Bungie, and they're starting to flex their financial power. So will we see more players? I think if you put a gun to my head, no. But is it infeasible? I don't think it's not feasible either. It's just whoever that new player is going to have a pretty big checkbook behind them to move these guys out of the way and say, like, hey, we're throwing some money around too, because like you got Microsoft dropping 7 bills on, ZeniMax and Activision Blizzard. Like, dude, come on now. Like we're playing for real. And then Sony just the other day, I believe it was like earlier this week, actually, Sony's head said they're going to put $2 billion worth of money into research and development for semiconductors, displays, and gaming. I'm like, all right, man, like these guys are definitely putting their money where their mouth is.
Yeah.
So to add a new player, like, again, I don't think it couldn't happen, but like if it ain't that big old Apple or if it ain't Google trying to a stab at it, I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, you'd have to have like Amazon or like Jeff Bezos sort of money backing a new gaming manufacturer.
And they're starting to dip their toes. I mean, Amazon has a game coming out soon. And then Netflix's first game just dropped that they published, I think about 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
So, I mean, they're coming now. Like, are they really going to like come out with like, hey, here's the net box or the Amazon Prime, Station 7. Like, is that what's going to happen? Maybe, but I'm seeing them dip their toes. So,
as a gamer, I am open to it, because if we close our minds to that opportunity, then we would be disrespecting the past. In the past, we had just Nintendo and Sega kind of running the show, and then in comes PlayStation. In comes Xbox. Everyone was thinking, well, we're not sure, we're still in the wild, wild west when it comes to games. Who knows how this will happen? If we have them in a closed mindset towards a new player or players coming into the competitive gaming market space, then I think we would lose out on some really good gaming experiences.
I mean, I wholeheartedly agree with you. Like, as an American, capitalism, baby, competition. That's where we get the qualities from competition. And so, like, that's what we need. We need somebody to, to push the envelope, because it kind of goes into my short-term goal of like what I want, which is like, I'm sick of these broken games. I'm sick of games coming out that need day one patches. I'm sick of the microtransactions. I'm sick of the Cyberpunks, the Jedi Survivors that come out and they're just trash. You gave me the ingredients for an amazing Wagyu cheeseburger, but you didn't cook it. Like, come on now. Like, and I think a competitor, a driving force will get us back. Because, back in the day, I got this little cool cartridge from Blockbuster or from Walmart or wherever I got it, and the game worked, man.
Yeah.
Like, my dad spent his 40, 50, 60 bucks that he worked hard for to get me this game, and it played. It worked well. Or when I was younger and I would play Call of Duty, like it worked when I had it. But now I gotta wait for a day one patch. I gotta wait for this. I gotta pick between performance and graphics. Just give me something that just like, listen, man, I work hard for my money just like everybody else. And so, if I expect a product, I expect all of the product. And if that means you need to sit in the oven for another year, another 2 years, sure. But when it comes to me, the consumer, it should be done.
I agree.
That's
completely.
like my short goal want. And then for your original point, when it came to like 50 years from now, I mean,
yes.
Shoot, I don't know how deep you are into the anime sphere, because I'm also a huge nerd. But like I'm down with like some full dive VR. Like it completely like hooks up to like my brainstem, and I'm like in the game. I can feel it, I can taste it, I can see it. I live in this real world. Like I'm this. See, I'll be like some 80-year-old man, but I'll be some 7'2" giant named Kanye.
You don't have any
punch
Black
people in the
Mirror.
face.
You don't have any Black Mirror vibes of that experience,
whatever.
and you die in this video game universe, and somehow that affects the brain and the stem that's in your brain stem gaming chip, and now you die in real life.
Well, I mean, like if you look at it now, and we're getting a little abstract, but I mean, technology in real life are coming closer and closer.
Oh my gosh!
Zuck already tried it with the metaverse. I'm like, hey, let's just jump. Let's go full steam.
Yeah. It's an exciting time to be a gamer. It's exciting, both present and future potential.
Yeah.
I just hope that one day, it doesn't result in, Skynet taking over, or us end up being, in this sort of matrix, and there's a real world out there. We don't really know what world we're in. So
there's a show called Sword Art Online, like where you're in the game, but like you're in a coma in real life. Like, you're living your life in the game. Like,
really good stuff, Zach. Man, really good information. And dude, it was a blast having you on the show, bro. It truly was.
Thanks for having me.
You're a great friend, valued and treasured fellow gamer. And I'm confident that down the line we'll have you back on the show at some point. So thanks again for affording the time. Say hello to the family for me, and we'll see you next time, bro.
Hey, can I do the thing before? Can I do it?
Yeah, you can do it. Go ahead, do it.
Hey! Make sure you guys like and subscribe,
and ring that notification bell to get regular updates on new videos. We'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.
All right, guys, thank you for joining me in this podcast. If you want to come on board with me in this podcast, join our Discord community where we talk about everything gaming. I hope you all enjoyed this episode. If you did, please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe, and follow my socials in the links below to be notified when the next episode uploads. We'll catch you in the next one.